Hello, BookTube. I've got a Wednesday mega stuff video for you here, and of course, as always, we'll start out with babies. I put out a call for pictures of books, and somehow that metamorphosed into pictures of dogs and cats, and I have a mixture of both to show you today. Look at this person, sound asleep. Uh, uh, and okay, the next one in the roll here, I'm gonna save until last because it's the best one of the day. But here's Martha Dog. Oh, look at that old face. Isn't that the sweetest thing? Oh. Uh, and then, while we're on the subject of cats, yesterday, I think I showed you a cat that had taken it upon itself to sprawl its 60 pounds of girth and fur and hairballs squarely on top of its owner's lap so that its owner couldn't do anything and couldn't move. And I got another picture of a cat doing exactly that same thing. Look at that. Look at the size of that thing. And now, of course, I want to know, I'm probably going to regret this, but I want to know, do all your cats do this? Just commandeer your laps and sprawl out on them like that without searching to buy your leave? And then this next dog is the most beagle that I have ever received yet in the parade of babies. It's kind of amazing. On this channel, I've made no secret of the fact that I go way back with beagles. And this isn't a pure beagle, but close enough. There's more beagle here in the mix than anything else. Look at that face. Look at that profile. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my. But we'll finish up with someone sound asleep. Someone small and yet mighty and sound asleep. Look at that. That is not Frida, in case any of you are wondering. Although I have a feeling they would be very similar. So those are the babies for today. Feel free to keep them coming. They are a source of joy to me. And then I want to talk a bit about books. One book in particular, but and then a couple that are adjacent to that, because one book in particular is coming out, I think, today is its actual publication date. Is that right? September 30th. Yeah, and this is a book I think I've shown you before. It's certainly an author I've shown you before. It's Janet Wortman. It's The Boy King. The third book in her, she's doing a series of books on Tudor England, concentrating on the Seymour family. So, of course, the first book was Jane the Queen, but you know eventually that you're going to reach King Edward, Henry VIII's only legitimate male heir. Henry VIII's successor, his boy, became king and had a regency council that was headed by Seymour brothers. And this is it. This book comes out, I believe, today. Janet Wortman has decided to self-publish these things, but all three of them, Jane the Queen, The Path to Somerset, and now The Boy King, are beautifully done. Yours, of course, won't have the not-for-sale banner on it. But yours will not be in your bookstore. Probably yours will not be in your bookstore. It will be everywhere else. It'll be all the other places that people get books. And I strongly urge, if you like Tudor fiction, this is the kind of thing that's really good that you may have missed. Because it's not traditionally published, so it won't be just willy-nilly distributed to bookstores and thrown in front of your eye. You'll have to look for it. But you should, because this whole series is really good. And as an extra note on this mega stuff video, I want to mention that a month ago, I did a Zoom chat with Janet Wortman about this book and about her series and about all sorts of other stuff. And I didn't think it was a good idea to run that, to publish that interview until now. So it's one of the only times on this channel where I've ever had a recording that I didn't run until a certain date. That always feels artificial to me. But when it comes to adhering to the publication schedules of actual published authors, I feel like I probably should have. I hope you aren't irritated. It wasn't meant to be dirty pool. It was just, it seemed to me that if I ran a half-an-hour interview with her for a book that comes out on the 30th, on the 5th, that wouldn't help the book as much. It wouldn't, even if you wanted to, you might forget. You might get to the end of the month and think, oh, what was that thing again? I make a lot of videos, so you might not go spelunking through it. So instead of doing that, I waited with that Q&A, and I will try to remember to publish that today, so that you can see, Janet Workman and I had a great conversation. And the adjacent thing that I've been reading, because I reread this book. I read it when I first got it, first for impressions, and then I reread it in fine detail. And I also did adjacent reading, and that is this, W.K. Jordan's fantastic, really definitive biography of Edward, which is in 2 volumes, despite the fact that Edward died when he was a young teenager. You have The Path to Power, the Threshold of Power, and The Young King. 2 big volumes that draw enormously heavily on everything that we can possibly know, all of the records of Edward's own book, everything that we need to do this. There are 1-volume biographies of Edward, but this is Edward and the Somersets. This is Edward and the Seymours, and I hadn't gone through it in quite some time, so it was a great to revisit it. As far as a tech update goes for your MegaStuff video, for the very first time in the last 24 hours, I have encountered a bit of a problem with 7 of 9. My 2019 iPad, just plain iPad, not iPad Pro, not iPad Mini, not iPad Air. I got one with an enormous amount of internal storage so that I wouldn't have to worry about loading it up with books or videos or files or anything like that. And it has been working like a dream. And I've been uploading most of the ebooks that the great many of you have been sending me, and also the publishers have been sending me, to the Nook app, the Barnes & Noble Nook app. Not for a mistaken sense of old loyalty. I used to work for Barnes & Noble for a long time, but because I actually like the aesthetics. I like the mechanics of the app better than any other app, than any other ebook reading app. That's all. It's not a big deal at all. And just recently, just in the last 24 hours, 7 of 9 has stopped uploading EPUB files to the Nook app. Now, and it's only the Nook app. It will still upload ebook files to everything else, all the other book apps that I have, and it's only 7 of 9. All the other iPad, I have two iPad Airs. I have second generation iPad. I have 2 iPad Minis. They upload the same files to the Nook app just fine. So I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. I'm going to continue to futz around with it today. My nightmare scenario, the nightmare explanation for what that is, and I don't think that it's likely, but you never know. When it comes to this magic technology that we have in our lives, you never know. My nightmare scenario is that all of this is connected with the fact that I can no longer get into my Comcast account, that I have no idea how to do that and no idea how to even tell Comcast that I am locked out. I can't even tell them that they have an incredibly PO'd customer and who needs a tiny bit of their help. A fraction of a second is all that's necessary to fix this. That's all. I just need somebody with my account up on their screen to change my password, tell me what it is, and then tell every application of that password that is the new password. So I don't have to worry about this anymore. Instead of trying to hack into my own account, I would dread that. A lot of these things have primordial roots, and so a lot of them are from when I used Comcast regularly as my email service, and that means that I would have to, if I wanted to redo that, the obvious answer here, staring me in the face, is to drop all of this and start all over, getting all my apps through Gmail, which does not put me through the circles of hell if I want to learn my own password or change it, which does not lock me out at all. The obvious answer here is to just do that, to just start over, make all my apps over again, downloading them to an account from Gmail instead of Comcast. But that would undo a huge amount of work, a huge amount of history with these things. I would much rather hack into my Comcast account somehow. And we shall see. We shall see how that will work. It's possible that there's no problem here, except that maybe one file that I uploaded to that particular Nook app on that particular device on 7 of 9, maybe one file is glitchy and the whole thing is obsessing about that. I've tried shutting the whole thing down and turning it back on again. But the one other option, which is to delete the Nook app and then reinstall it, that option would certainly fix any kind of bottleneck with uploading files. But I can't do that, because if I delete the app, I can't upload it again. I'm locked out of my Comcast account, so I can't get it back if I get rid of it. I'm going to have to address this eventually. I just don't know if I have the patience, that's all. But in addition to books, so we have King Edward, tiny little young King Edward. This book comes out today. I know a lot of you are Tudor fiction fans. You should give this series a try. I've mentioned it before. I got this book and the last book, and maybe even the Jane the Queen, on this channel. And I strongly recommend the series. And you will see the interview today. I bet Janet Wortman is a wonderful, fun person. I have a feeling that will nudge you a little in the direction of trying her out yourself as well. So then we have mail. We have a bunch of mail. And the first package here is not a book. It's soft and squishy. Now, I have not ordered anything soft and squishy in a while. So this cannot possibly be an order of mine. I have an idea of something that I want to order that's soft and squishy, but I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. So this has got to be from one of you. And if that's true, then it's cause for sorrow, because we were doing so well with not bombarding Steve with gifts. We were doing so well. But let's see what this is. Oh goodness, it is a gift from one of you. Oh my. It's a sweatshirt. It's Shakespeare. This dog is my dog. William Shakespeare, with a stylized H on the back. I don't know what this is. How wonderful. It's also in double extra large, so at least one of you was listening to me. Normal size clothing does not fit me at all. And I'm really hard on my things, and that includes my clothes. That very much includes my clothes. I'm probably the only person you know who orders a whole dozen packet of white socks about every month. Not because I'm obsessed with white socks, but because I actually wear out the previous 12. Holes everywhere. And the same thing is true with clothes. If I'm not swimming in it, if the size isn't so big that I'm swimming in it, if it's a normal size for me, like a large, then I will rip it to shreds. I will tear it apart in virtually no time at all. So I get all of my clothing in double extra large, triple extra large, even quadruple extra large. And that tends to help. And this is the right size. How wonderful. Okay, well, this dog is my dog, and it's from Shakespeare. I really appreciate it. But we mustn't start down this road, right? This is one slip up. Anybody's allowed one slip up, but we mustn't start down the road. I don't want books and tchotchkes and tasseled bookmarks and anything like that to start winging their way here. Okay, we were doing so well. So this is wonderful. Whoever you are, thank you very much for sending it. But that's all we're gonna do. That's this week's gift. But then we have a bunch of packages from publishers, a bunch of books, including a big box at the end. Actually, a bunch of boxes at the end, but one of them is considerably bigger than the others. So it's traffic from publishers, and that's really nice. So what have we got here? Okay, what is this? Jerusalem Post, signature reads, Jewish Book Council, Jewish News Service, American Jewish World, the Jewish Chronicle, Kveller. Right, the Jerusalem Post. So I'm looking at these things first before I'm knowing anything about the book, and I already know. I went to the back, the very back of the pub sheet is covered in blurbs from the Jerusalem Post and Jewish Book Council and the Jewish News Service and American Jewish World and the Jewish Chronicle. So the chosen people have spoken. Whatever this thing is, they love it. Although, I can't help but notice that I have never written for the Jerusalem Post, and I would consider that a singular honor. Okay, well, let's find out. Let's find out what, as Monty Python put it, the Dead Sea pedestrians are singing the praises of. Let's find out. I want to write for the Jerusalem Post. Who do I see about that? Okay, so the book is by Eshkol Nevo, and it's a novel called The Last Interview, with 2 stylized conversation buttons. Internationally best-selling author. So this is going to be a paperback original in mid-October. $19 for this thing. Can you see it? I don't know how we're doing for light here. Let's... Is that any better? That's a little better. I keep forgetting. It's the opposite thing. I need very little light coming in through the window if I want you to see book covers. I need a lot of light coming in through the windows if I want you to see pictures on the iPad or the iPad Mini. Oh, good Lord, more blurbs. And yet more blurbs. Starred reviews from Booklist and Kirkus. And an events schedule. That's the first one of those I've seen in a long time. The author is actually going to dare to do events. Are they in America? Oh, they are. California, Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, Michigan, Ohio, and New Jersey. All through the late part of this year and the early part of next year. Good luck. I don't think any of those events are going to happen. Anyway, what have we got here? Acclaimed Israeli author Eshkol Nevo. What a cool name. Presents a compelling, intimate look into the soul of an artist and his country. After realizing he's tired of his overused anecdotes and canned replies to questions like, where do you find your story ideas, our narrator, a famous Israeli author, answers a set of written interview questions with soul-bearing honesty, slowly revealing the shattered man beneath the public persona. As each question in the last interview opens a new doorway into the narrator's life, he reflects on his declining marriage, depression, politics, and friendships. He ponders the many decisions over the years, large and minuscule, that led to the life that is now falling apart. Tempted to turn the most painful parts of life into anecdotes, he remembers, or perhaps imagines, infidelities, the early days of parenthood, and failed career aspirations. Okay. And the author's real-life grandfather, for whom he's named, is former Israeli Prime Minister Levi Eshkol. Okay, so do we have a paragraph about Eshkol Nevo? Do we have a paragraph about... We do, yes. Is one of Israel's most successful living writers. His novels have all been bestsellers in Israel and published widely in translation. Homesick was longlisted for the 2019 Independent Foreign Fiction Prize. New Land was included in the Independent's 2014 Books of the Year in Translation. And Three Floors Up, there we go. Three Floors Up. I vaguely remembered this name. Which was from Other Press in 2017 and did get some coverage in America, will be adapted for film by the acclaimed Italian director Nanni Moretti in 2020. Nevo owns and co-manages the largest private creative writing school in Israel and is a mentor of many up-and-coming writers. Okay. All right, so this also is from Other Press, and it comes out in mid-October. So we start off this mail haul with a best-selling Israeli author. Those of you who are in Israel, if I have any brothers or sisters in Tel Aviv, I'd love to know if you know this author. Let's see here. Oh my! It's late September. It's the very end of September. Oh my! To be in Tel Aviv today. Oh my! Those of you who've never been, you are missing one of the gems of the world. A place to be. Especially now, you don't necessarily want to be in Tel Aviv in high summer, but end of September, early October, although I don't know really what that means. I mean, it's end of September, tomorrow's the 1st of October, but it's hot here in Boston, and bright and humid. So who knows what end of summer means anymore. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Oh, I've heard about this, and I'm so enthused. Boy. Okay, foreign literature. We have seen such a glut or wealth, I should say, not a glut. We see just a swarm, such a plague of foreign literature in translation in 2020. It's been amazing. It is one of the strongest themes of the year. Just a bounty. And here's one that I actually vaguely know of, and I'm so happy that this exists. This is the Copenhagen Trilogy by Tove Ditlevsen. Childhood, Youth, Dependency. And this is translated from the Danish by Tina Nunali and Michael Favala Goldman. Let me tell you about this. This is such a treat. I hope this gets reviewed everywhere. This is slated for the end of January, so next year. The author, widely regarded as one of Denmark's most important modern writers, was born into a working-class family in Copenhagen. She was discouraged from pursuing her education, though she possessed a unique intelligence and a single-minded determination to become a poet from an early age. The Copenhagen Trilogy, her acknowledged masterpiece and a forerunner of the autofiction genre, Nobody's perfect. Tells the story of how she left her childhood tenement and won improbable yet swift literary fame as a young writer, only to find herself in the clutches of addiction, a disease that would threaten the independence she worked to achieve as a woman and artist. We're just going to barrel on, and Steve's Jesuitical Catholic school ideas about how addiction is a moral failing and not a disease, he's going to keep to himself. The book you hold in your hand collects the 3 slim volumes. FSG will publish both a single-volume hardcover edition of the trilogy and the 3 books as discrete original paperbacks in January. So, I don't know if you followed that. For Our Stars and Joy, I was going to do the collected, the 3, but also the individual books in case you don't want to dive right in case you want to do it piecemeal. What a great idea. What a great idea to do that. Introducing Ditlevson to an American audience for the first time. It is a moment of revival for this great writer, with Tova fever gripping a new generation of readers. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I won't be getting to this right away. I'm happy that it exists, but this is actually not part of the glut of translation fiction, of translated work for 2020, because it's not a 2020 book. It's just barely not a 2020 book. So it's 2021. It'll give me something to look forward to. That's great. And I'm getting it in 2020. So let's see here. Let's see what this next one is. This next one is a couple of things. Okay, what have we got here? Mass market paperbacks. Oh. Romances. Mass market romances. So give me a perfect opportunity to give a little shout out once again to my sister from another mister, Sarah, at the Bookish Knitter, a channel that used to be called Steeped in Books. I have praised her channel many, many times on this channel. She is, what's the matter, baby? You want to come and see your fans? Huh? Ooh. Ooh. You want to look at them, or you want to look at the bluebirds? Hmm? Oh, hey, baby. Hey, baby. Oh, there you go. What are you doing? Oh, what you doing, baby? Late last night, I was sitting up in bed reading, and she was down at the bottom of the bed. She likes to press against me when she's asleep. Doesn't necessarily like to cuddle, but she likes at least one portion of her body to be pressed against mine when she's sleeping. And at one point late last night, she draped an arm over my leg. And just to be a snot, I reached down and moved it back, and she put it back like a second later. And I reached down and moved it back again, and she put it back, and when she put it back the second time, she gave me one of her little upset beehive growls. So I left it where it was. But as I was saying, Sarah's channel is wonderful. If I remember, I will leave a link to it down below. She chats to the camera. She just talks to you about the stuff that she loves, and isn't trying to prove anything to anybody, and wants to know what you love. And that is great. That is to me the perfect recipe for BookTube. So I'm going to give her a little shout out because I've got a couple of romances here. The first one is A Highlander is Coming to Town, a Highland, Georgia novel. So we have plaid, but we don't have a kilt, and we don't necessarily have rippling muscles, because this is a Highlander in contemporary. We saw the last one of these set in Highland, Georgia. And this one is obviously Christmas themed. Which is why the Highlander who is coming to town is presenting us with his ball. so let me hold this up for you while we see what this one's about. Holt Pearson, H-O-L-T, that's his first name, Holt. I can't have a first name like Holt. I would like to. Instead, my name sounds like, Steve sounds like the sound you make when you're right at the worst part of an ice cream headache. Holt Pearson is dreading Christmas. His parents absconded to Florida for the season and left him to handle the family farm, which will be his one day, whether he wants it or not. Will be his one day, whether he wants it or not. Driven by duty, Holt has always followed the path expected of him, but lately he's been questioning what he wants and where he belongs. Will assuming the responsibility of the Pearson farm make him happy, or is there something or someone else out there in the wider world calling to him. And it won't be a man. It won't be one of the farmhands or anybody else. To Claire Smythe, the Scottish lead singer of a touring band, Highland, Georgia, is perfect place to hide until a very handsome and deeply curious Holt begins to ask all the questions Claire doesn't want to answer. As Holt draws Claire out from under and into the fabric of small-town life, can Claire put the past behind her and embrace the unexpected gifts of the season, including new and lasting love? And the last Highland, Georgia book, I forget the name of it. I automatically look over to this corner, but my romances are not in this room anymore. And the last Highland, Georgia novel, I thought the romance itself was a little by the numbers, even for a corseted genre like romance. I kept thinking, okay, well, you're gonna do a little variation on this, right? You're not satisfied just writing this, are you? And it turned out the author was just satisfied in writing what she's writing, but the evocation of small town life was incredible, just amazing. We see this a lot in romances, that a lot of series now are set in a place rather than around a group of people or in a time period. And the goal when you do that, when you have a location-based romance, is for the location to mean something, for it to feel real. And boy, oh boy, does this author, Laura Trentham, boy, does she do that. Boy, oh boy, does she do that. More strongly in the last book in this series than anything else that she did in that book. So we'll see if that's true in this one. And then what's our next... oh, my. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my. Okay, all right. These are both due at the end of September. This is by Kerrigan Byrne, who I love. She's fantastic. And this is... we're once again with the Highlanders, but this time... we've still got the plaid, but the ball is discreetly covered. This is all Scott and bothered. Oh my, look at that. That is tartan that goes on for days. Okay, what have we got here? They are a dangerous duke, a fierce lord, and an infamous earl. Dark, bold, brave men who know exactly what they want. And there's only one woman who can bring them to their knees. Probably not the best turn of phrase, but that's all right. Let's just move on. In the second book in the Devil You Know series, he is first and foremost at everything. A man who's made his own way through life, through cunning and sheer force of will. A strong and imposing Scot who can turn on the charm but does not suffer fools. His title, Lord Chief Justice of the High Court. His name, Cassius Gerard Ramsay. His mission, to investigate the goings-on at London's most notorious gaming hell, owned and operated by one of the most intriguing and desirable women he's ever met. Okay, but Cassius Gerard Ramsay, we're told he's first and foremost at everything, but unless he's the Duke that we've been told about, he's not, right? We're told a dangerous duke, a fierce lord, and an infamous earl. But if Cassius is not the duke, then he is not first and foremost at everything. We shall find out. If he's the earl, for instance, or some kind of miserable viscount, then he's not first and foremost at everything. Okay, fantastic. Well, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, the little details notwithstanding, it doesn't matter to me. It's just sometimes the little details, when you read a lot of period romance, the little details can sometimes jump out at you. I noticed that I saw online on Twitter that I was not the only person who watched Enola Holmes, the Henry Cavill, Sherlock Holmes' sister show, and was stopped dead in my tracks by the ridiculous nomenclature of the nobleman in the show. Just someone who hadn't done even a moment of Wikipediaing to find out how you would call someone, what you would call them. It took me out of the story. It really did, even though it's a minor detail. The only difference between me and a lot of the people who are complaining on Twitter about it is that I acknowledge it's a minor detail. Okay. But anyway, then we have boxes. Let's do some boxes and see what we can get. Boxes can always be very enjoyable to see because they often connote finished copies, a finished copy connotes that Steve is that much closer to the electric rabbit going off, the bell going off, and the dogs suddenly racing out of their cages and around the track. In other words, a finished copy tends to mean that it's almost time to write instead of read. Oh, okay, what's this? Oh, fantastic. Oh, how lovely. Okay, this is a finished copy of something I didn't get an advanced copy of, and I don't have a pub sheet for it, so I'm going to have to look that up. But this is right up my alley. Not only natural history, but avian natural history. That is right up my alley. And this is by Marianne Taylor and is called The Gull Next Door, a portrait of a misunderstood bird. And it has, it's from Princeton University Press, and it looks like it's going to be full of what I would guess is the author's own illustrations. See, you've got these little black and white spot illustrations that fill the text. That I always love. That's something you get in lots of natural history books that I always think is a great extra. Okay, well, what do we got here? You all know the bird, of course. You can't live anywhere in the world without knowing the bird. But we're in a kind of a weird river dance kind of exchange with the light levels here, aren't we? I guess I shouldn't complain. Plenty of people have terrible light. I have an abundance of it. The weather forecasts, not the weather data, but the weather forecasts yesterday predicted 100% certainty of clouds and pouring rain all day long today in Boston. 100% certainty. And it is a bright, hot summer day here with not a trace of rain. It rained earlier, but it was supposed to, 100% certainty it was supposed to rain all day. So it was a washout, folks. Yeah, that's great. From a distance, gulls are beautiful symbols of freedom over the oceanic wilderness. Up close, however, they can be loud, aggressive, and even violent. Can be. They always are. They always are loud and aggressive. Yet gulls fascinate bird watchers, and seafarers regard them with respect and affection. The Gull Next Door explores the natural history of gulls and their complicated relationships with humans. Marianne Taylor grew up in an English seaside town where gulls are ever present. Today, she is a passionate advocate for these unappreciated birds. In this book, Taylor looks at the different gull species and sheds light on all aspects of the lives of gulls, how they find food, raise families, socialize, and migrate across the seas, coastlands, and countryside. She discusses the herring gull, Britain's best-known and most persecuted gull species, whose numbers are declining at an alarming rate. She looks at gulls in legend, fiction, and popular culture and explains what we can do to protect the gull populations around the world. Fantastic. I would have thought that gull populations anywhere were in decline. They seem like one of those perennial, scrap heap species like coyotes or rats that have worked out a symbiosis with humans so that they'll be fine. Okay, so now I want to know. I won't bore you because this is going on enormously long anyway. But does this thing have a bibliography? No, it does not. Okay, it does not have a bibliography, but I'm curious to know. There was an old book long before most of your time that was really, really, really good. Deserves to be in print, called Divorce Among the Gulls. There was a natural history of what we know about gull society. And I always wonder, when I get a thing like this, I wonder if the author of a book like this even knows that, has ever read the book or encountered it. But let's move on here, since we're pushing the time here. We've still got a huge box to go. Okay, this next one is a novel by Xiaolu Guo. This is A Lover's Discourse in a finished copy. It's got flowers on it. That's not going to appeal to everybody. I wonder if this is also translated literature. Probably yes. No. Okay, well, I don't know. No translators listed. Who are you? Was born in South China and moved to London in 2002. Her novels have been shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction and Independent Foreign Fiction Prize, and longlisted for the Man Asia Literary Prize. Okay, so she probably wrote this in English. I know her name. I know this name. I wonder if I read the one that was nominated for the Women's Prize. Let's see if we have a list. I wonder if we have a list. I wonder if one will jump out at me. Village of Stone. UFO in Her Eyes. Oh, I think Lovers in the Age of Indifference might have been the one. But anyway, let's see what we have here. One of the most acclaimed Chinese writers of her generation, and one of Granta's best young British novelists. Here delivers a story of love, language, and the meaning of home. And here we get a quote from the book. "I don't believe in love at first sight. I was taken aback. You gave me a damp smile, as if my confusion proved that you were right." When a Chinese woman moves to London to pursue a PhD, she is confronted with a country in political turmoil. She knew she would be lonely, adrift in the city, but she meets a man with whom she can see herself building a future. Will her new relationship bring her closer to this land she has chosen, or will their love give her a home? A lover's discourse is a love story told through fragments of conversation between the two lovers. As the couple try to negotiate a life that will satisfy them both, whether on the unmoored houseboat or in a stifling apartment, Guo plays with language and cultural differences against the backdrop of post-Brexit Britain. Okay. And let's see here. An intimate and tender novel from the winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award for Autobiography. Guo revisits the themes that anchored her debut novel, a concise Chinese-English dictionary for lovers. Maybe that was the book, her debut. That might have been it. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Grove Press. Again, like The Gull Next Door, it doesn't have a pub sheet, just had an invoice. We don't have one of those. So I'm going to have to figure out where, when it comes out. Probably it's an October release. And then we have this huge box, and then we'll be done. Could be one huge book. Could be a couple of books. You never know. You never know. Oh my God, it's another invoice. I don't need it. What have we got here? All sorts of plastic wrap. No, baby. No. You can't have any of that. What have we got here? Okay, this is also from the folks at Yale University Press. Okay. Our Days Are Like Full Years, a memoir of letters from Louis Kahn by Harriet Pattison. Our days are like full years. The renowned Louis Kahn, eulogized by the New York Times as America's foremost living architect, wrote these words to a young woman early in what would become a 15-year involvement, ending with his sudden death in 1974. Harriet Pattison ultimately became a prominent landscape architect herself, but at 31 years old, she embarked on a love affair with Lou, a man 27 years her senior who'd once dazzled her during a chance encounter when she was a Yale student. Throughout their romance, often maintained through letters, postcards exchanged while Lou traveled the globe, Harriet became confidant and collaborator to the adoring, exhausting visionary, detailing in lyrical correspondence the days and discoveries of architecture and human relations alike. Wow, okay, so invaluable for Kahn biographers. Let's see. One of America's foremost architects, absolutely, but completely talentless. So I don't know what I'm going to make of this. And there is the author right there in the present day. Okay, well, that took longer than I thought. Let's do a Steve pyramid here while we're at it, while we're getting these unearthly shadows. So we have Our Days Are Like Full Years. We have A Lover's Discourse. We have The Gull Next Door, probably the thing I will read today. We have the Copenhagen Trilogy. We have The Last Interview, so a couple of, well outside the wheelhouse of ordinary, American lit fic. It's great to get these kind of exotic mentions. Then we have All Scott and Bothered by Kerrigan Byrne, and A Highlander is Coming to Town. So, not a bad mail haul, all told. So we have those are the books that came in the mail, and then the other book I want to remind you of is The Boy King, which is all about the tragically short reign of Edward VI. So, I believe that's it. I believe that's all. That was a MegaStuff video that well and truly earned its name, wasn't it? So I'm going to wrap this up for now, good Lord, and I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.